Good Friday morning. Doesn't that sound great? Friday, it's here. Today, June 5th. We're so glad you're with us here on the Weather Desk. I'm Meteorologist Craig Moeller. I'm here to talk to you about today's top weather headlines, and we've got a great weekend in store. It's going to be a steamy one here in Hampton Roads. You know, we've been keeping a close eye to the surf zone. We've had a high threat of rip currents earlier in the week, and it's gotten a little bit better. We're going to talk about changes coming up as we go through the coming days as well. We've got more on the Buxton home collapse cleanup. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to take a look at the national severe weather outlook. As we go through the weekend, there will be some opportunities for strong to severe storms for some parts of the country, multiple areas actually, so we'll get into that. In addition, Colorado River water, it is so important to so many western states. We're going to talk about a new agreement where they are sharing some of that all-important Colorado River water. We'll have that coming up for you in a bit. Then we're going to look back in history, the D-Day invasion, and how critical those decisions were based on weather forecasts. It's a really interesting story. Evan Stewart has that. We have the weekend outlook. I've got an update on the drought monitor. There is a lot to tackle this morning. So let's start off with a look at what's going on with the rip currents, and things are improving for the southeast U.S. Now, there are still parts of the Carolina coast that are with a high threat of rip currents. From Oregon Inlet down through Hatteras, this is the part of our viewing area here in southeast Virginia and northeast North Carolina. We still have that high threat. Again, Oregon Inlet south. But for the northern Outer Banks and for Virginia Beach, things are much better. And we have a live look here. Let's take this live look. I want to show you the sunshine. We'll take this full, and I'm going to switch up the camera to bring you back out to the ocean front, because that's where we've been watching very carefully. The waves breaking. You can see all those black dots out there. Those are all surfers. And what happens here, you know, we do have a moderate threat of rip currents, but that's due to those wave heights coming in. We got 2 to 3 foot waves coming in into the surf zone. Occasionally you get a little bit more than that. These surfers, we'll see if this guy gets up right here. He's trying to catch one. He's up, and it looks like he just missed it. All right. Well, at any rate, if you've got a longboard with a west-southwest wind, it's really cleaning up the faces. So we've been watching surfers all morning catch waves and ride them on in. It's been a nice start to the day down in the surf zone. I expect the winds maybe to pick up a little bit later today, especially offshore. But in general, we're looking at light west to southwest winds, and that's pretty ideal for surfing. Let's take a look at the beach forecast. Temperatures today into the mid-80s. It's going to be mostly sunny for a while, maybe a few more clouds later this afternoon. The water temperature right now in the surf zone in the upper 60s, surf height 2 to 3 feet. In the bay, we have 70 degrees. Of course, you don't have the waves for surfing there, but if you're going to do some swimming, any of our bay beaches, those areas, I'm thinking East Ocean View, Chicks Beach, those areas, the north end, you might pick up, you know, the slightly warmer waters closer to 70, just really, really nice. All right, the UV index very high. It only takes about 15 minutes before a sunburn begins. We will enjoy a lot of sunshine. Things are looking good. But again, south of the Oregon Inlet, that's where the rip current threat is high. And we're going to talk to you some more about that home in the Outer Banks where we have the cleanup. You can see down here at Buxton, I'll take you into the street in the home that went into the water. It was unoccupied, but we have cleanup underway after that home collapsed in Buxton. It's now one of more than 20 homes that have fallen in that stretch of beach in the last few years. This is a look at the home. It was still standing on Ocean Drive over Memorial Day weekend, but you could see just barely teetering there. It was swept away by rough surf Tuesday night, leaving debris scattered along the shoreline and in the water. Dozens of people spent several hours cleaning up the debris yesterday, filling up multiple dumpsters. Cape Hatteras National Seashore is still urging visitors to avoid the beach from Buxton south to Cape Point area while they work to clean it up. All right, so things are looking better for Hampton Roads this weekend, and we're going to talk a lot about the weekend weather upcoming. I do want to let you know, though, other parts of the country, they're going to have a rough go. So we're going to take a look at the severe weather outlook here and across the central U.S. from Illinois across Iowa back into Nebraska. Today, we do have this risk of severe storms. So we're going to be looking at this. Again, potential for some tornadic development, a lot of that due to to the threat of wind and some larger hail. But this is the area that needs to be concerned with an elevated risk. Maybe an isolated tornado can't be ruled out with some of these storms. From basically the southwest part of Chicago on through Davenport, you get into Cedar Rapids and Ottumwa, Des Moines, Iowa. These towns in Iowa all want to stay very much weather aware. It's basically right along the Iowa-Missouri state line that's kind of the lower edge of that elevated tornado threat. It's just north of St. Joseph. Omaha, they are included in it. You can see out through Lincoln and Columbus. Now, as we look into Saturday, that area with potential tornadoes shifts a little farther to the east. Pittsburgh, Punxsutawney, back towards Cleveland, these areas, Cambridge. This is the area that has the greatest risk of an isolated tornado. Again, that's coming up as we get into the weekend on Saturday. The severe weather outlook includes a marginal risk all the way to Maine, of course, New Hampshire, Vermont, northern parts, upstate New York, but across western Mass, Connecticut, northern Rhode Island, and these areas, New York, northern New Jersey, much of Pennsylvania, you have a level 2 or slight risk. By the way, New York City is under a level 1 or marginal threat for severe weather. Detroit's also included in that threat. You can see basically Chicago south, including Cincinnati, Indianapolis, north of St. Louis, and then extending back out to just north and northwest, or northeast rather, of Kansas City. So that's the outlook for Saturday. As we look ahead on Saturday, a couple other areas right along the Red River. You can see down into central Texas and then up across Montana and into North Dakota. There's also a slight risk up that way. Now, as we turn our attention to Sunday, we're going to do a couple of things here. First, I'll just mention that we do have a level 2 threat across North Dakota. This is where severe storms are most likely with this outlook for Sunday. Down through Rapid City, a level 1 threat. That includes eastern portions of Montana and northeastern Wyoming. But I want to finish up by focusing on this. Okay, Hampton Roads. This is our home market here at 13 News Now. For the south side, the peninsula, basically the entire Virginia portion of the viewing area, and the extreme northern tier of North Carolina, we have a level 1 threat. On Sunday, late Sunday, keep in mind it's going to be very hot over the weekend, and I'll talk about that coming up. But late Sunday, there's going to be a cold front that drops down. Out ahead of that front, I think we'll start to see the humidity increasing a little bit, the ingredients coming together for a few stronger storms. So that will be a concern. Should be very isolated what we get, but there is that chance for isolated strong to severe storms coming up Sunday. Of course, I will have the full weekend forecast for us, and we'll focus on the big heat up coming up a little later in the show. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, a first of its kind deal could help areas struggling with drought get the water they desperately need. Plus, the new U.S. Drought Monitor is out. It was released yesterday. We'll have a look at the conditions across the country. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. You know, as parts of the country are facing a worsening drought situation, San Diego could help Arizona and Nevada shore up their water supplies under a first-of-its-kind agreement. You see, it's dry right now. They share water from the Colorado River. The deal would allow San Diego County to sell some of the rights it has to the Colorado River water to the two other states, and the water wouldn't physically move across state lines. Instead, San Diego would draw less water from the river, leaving more available for others. Officials say it's the first large-scale water trade between states that share rights to the Colorado River. Again, this agreement comes as areas of the West face intense drought conditions, with reservoirs like Lake Powell and Lake Mead nearing critically low levels. Details, including water volumes and pricing, still need to be negotiated. All right, we're going to take a look at those dry conditions. And again, you can see Southern California not in as bad a shape as some of these areas, Arizona, Utah, New Mexico, and Colorado. There's worsening drought conditions out there. As far as the new updated drought monitor goes, these are the latest. This is how it's shaping up, the latest reports coming in. We still have some exceptional drought here along the Idaho-Nevada border. There's still a patch of exceptional drought here, and we're seeing some areas across Oklahoma into the Texas Panhandle and also western Nebraska. But there are actually some really good signs in some other parts of the country. And you can see this is one area that we've been focused on. Remember, if you've watched this, this program for the past couple of months, we've had exceptional drought. It's been locked in with this darker shade of kind of red or maroon, showing that exceptional drought for the Florida Panhandle up across much of southeast Georgia. Well, they've gotten more rain and things are better now. It's still extreme drought to severe drought, but when you consider how bad it was before, at least these are all steps in the right direction. Same thing in North Carolina. We still have some areas of extreme drought, but it's not quite as bad as it was. There are more areas under severe drought, so some improvements there. And I have some good news for Virginia. Areas up in the mountains that were last week extreme, now just severe. So I know you're going, severe drought, that sounds terrible, but compared to extreme, things have gotten better across northern parts of Virginia and to the northwest. We've also seen some subtle improvements around the James River. I will say for the south side Hampton Roads in northeast North Carolina, this part of the map has changed very little. One other area of improvement, we had extreme drought for much of the eastern shore. That's now back down to severe. So improvements on the eastern shore as well. Now, you hear us talk about this with the drought monitor, and you might be wondering, how does the drought monitor gather all this information, and how do we share this? Well, Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandagis explains.
With continued dry conditions, you'll be seeing more of the Drought Monitor report within our forecast. Here's what it's actually telling us. The U.S. Drought Monitor is a weekly map that shows where drought is happening and just how severe it is. It's updated every Thursday morning, but it's based on data collected through Tuesday, so there is a slight lag, but it still gives a very accurate big picture view. The map breaks conditions into categories from abnormally dry to exceptional drought, which is the most extreme. What makes it useful is that it doesn't rely on just one data set. It combines things like rainfall, temperatures, soil moisture, stream flow, and groundwater levels. It also includes real-world impacts like crop health, low reservoirs, or water restrictions, so it reflects what's actually happening on the ground. All of this is blended together using a convergence of evidence where experts from groups like National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the United States Department of Agriculture, and the University of Nebraska-Lincoln collaborate each week to make the final call. So when you see the drought monitor in our forecast, it's not just about rainfall, it's a full snapshot of how dry conditions are impacting our water, environment, and agriculture. For 13 News Now, I'm Chief Meteorologist Tim Pandagis.
Thank you so much, Tim. All right, tomorrow marks the 82nd anniversary of D-Day. Next, we'll explain how weather forecasting played a critical role in that operation, helping change the course of World War II. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. Tomorrow marks the 82nd anniversary of D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in history, and a turning point in World War II. But before Allied troops could land on the beaches of Normandy, military leaders faced a different enemy: the weather. Meteorologist Evan Stewart looks at the forecast that helped shape one of history's most important military operations.
As Allied forces prepared for D-Day in June 1944, one of the biggest decisions of World War II came down to a weather forecast. The invasion, known as Operation Overlord, required very specific conditions. Troops needed low tide at dawn to expose German beach obstacles, enough moonlight for airborne operations, and seas calm enough for thousands of landing craft crossing the English Channel. But just before the invasion, a major Atlantic storm brought rough seas, strong winds, and low clouds. The original June 5th invasion date suddenly looked impossible. And at the center of all that pressure was Scottish meteorologist James Stagg. With no weather satellites and very limited data over the Atlantic Ocean, Stagg had to piece together conflicting forecasts from British and American teams while military leaders waited for an answer. He ultimately identified a brief break in the storm, a narrow weather window on June 6th. Now, conditions still weren't ideal, but Stagg believed they would be good enough. Supreme Allied Commander Dwight D. Eisenhower accepted the forecast and launched the invasion. And that decision helped Allied troops land in Normandy and begin the liberation of Western Europe. It remains one of history's most important examples of weather helping change the course of the world.
What a story that was. All right, as we take a look at the tropical Atlantic and the story here on our local coastal waters, it's pretty chill right now. As we look across the Gulf, it's quiet. It's quiet in the Caribbean and the tropical Atlantic, the main development region, all quiet as well right now. You've got some little clusters of showers and a few areas of convection here or there, but nothing that's showing signs of development. So the Hurricane Center says, hey, we're not anticipating anything for the next week. Things should remain quiet for now. As we turn our attention to the Eastern Pacific, it's been a different story there. There we have three different areas we are monitoring. We have Amanda, and then we've got two other areas of concern. We'll start off with these two closer to land. We've got convection and storminess flaring up here again off the coast of Nicaragua. We've been watching this area for a while, and we're getting more development out here as well. So the Hurricane Center's watching those areas. We have Amanda still kind of moving along. It's a tropical storm. Not very powerful. It's actually forecast to weaken a little bit. So we'll take a look at the development chances over the coming week, around 70% for this area here near the Mexican southwest and southern coast there. And then this area here with about a 60% chance south of San Salvador. Both of these could be rainmakers, heavy rainmakers along those coastal areas, depending on how they develop. So we'll keep a close eye to that. The area that we do have that name system, Amanda, you can see it is still well out in the middle of the Eastern Pacific, not close to either Hawaii or the Baja. We're talking this thing's like 1,300 to 1,400 miles from the big island of Hawaii and not threatening that. It is forecast to kind of move along a little bit to the west and then weaken to 40 miles per hour, dropping down to the southwest Sunday morning and then becoming a post-tropical system, just kind of a remnant low or a depression as it moves along. So we'll keep an eye to it, but eventually it should weaken, and that is good news for the Hawaiian Islands. All right, we're going to take one. I've got a look ahead to your weekend weather in Hampton Roads. It is going to be hot. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. As we look ahead to the weekend, we've got pretty nice conditions for most of Hampton Roads. Heat is going to be an issue. Okay, our normal high is 82. Today's high around 92. We'll be in the mid-90s tomorrow. In fact, that forecast high around 95 or say 96, just within a degree or so of our record high. That was 97, and that was set back in 2002. A few more clouds coming up Saturday. Will be dry Saturday. On Sunday, there's chances for a few late day storms or maybe Sunday evening. We'll see. Temperatures there around 94. So another hot day, a little more humid coming up on Sunday as well. After that, temperatures will cool into early next week. So that's what we're looking at for the next few days. If you've got plans to get up to D.C. this weekend, we're looking at 93 on Saturday, 90 on Sunday. Temperatures close to 92 for both Saturday and Sunday around Charlottesville. Nice day both for Saturday and Sunday, but it's just going to be hot. Out around Roanoke, a little cooler as you get up into the mountains. Temperatures also mid-90s for Raleigh. Richmond, steamy Saturday, a little cooler Sunday. Chances for a few stray showers or storms by Sunday evening in these locations as well. Outer Banks, mid to upper 80s. So that's a look at your weekend road trip forecast. Now, as we take a look right now, you can see things are pretty quiet here on the Elizabeth River with the Thompson Creek Window Company Skyview. Winds are light, barely filling the flags here on Schooner, Virginia. As we take a look, the winds are west-southwest, just 8 miles per hour. All right, over the next 9 hours, temperatures will climb upper 80s to low 90s, as I mentioned. Look for a few more fair weather clouds this afternoon. Big picture showing you the showers and storms back associated with this front still well to the west. High pressures in control. And as we take a look at our future cast, I'm going to use the European model to focus on what's going to happen later in the weekend. You'll notice through the day today we're dry. Again, the wet weather, the stronger storms well to the west and to the north. As we go through the day Saturday, we start off maybe a little more cloud cover tomorrow, but the wet weather stays to the north. Into Saturday evening, parts of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, maybe Maryland, seeing some showers and storms that way. That front is going to settle down late Sunday and bring with it the chances for a few showers or storms. And again, we do have that level 1 or marginal risk of severe weather across the area as we get into Sunday evening. All right, after that, things cool down and clear out for Monday. It's looking good. So heat today, upper 80s to low 90s across the south side and on the peninsula, low 90s. A little cooler to the eastern shore. Down at the Outer Banks, mid 80s today, low 90s inland. Tonight's low near 70. Tomorrow we're going to be back up around 96. The heat building, get ready for that. Near record warmth. Then on Sunday, back to 94. We're going to see temperatures cooling down Monday into Tuesday. Very, very comfortable, and then warming up again next week. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Weather Desk. I want to remind you can always stay connected to our forecasts and have access to all of our radars by downloading the 13 News Now mobile app. You can scan that QR code. It's free and available wherever you get your apps. I want everybody to have a happy and safe weekend. We'll see you next time from the Weather Desk.